The Zodiac Killer, an unsolved mystery that still haunts America. Everyone knows the Zodiac Killer, the hooded phantom, the cipher-obsessed boogeyman, the guy who made an entire state afraid to park at a lover's lane. But what if I told you the story's even stranger than the documentary show? This isn't a theory post. This is a story of the case, the way it felt to live through those reports, the letters, the fear, the obsession. A Reddit-style retelling of the investigation that defined American true crime. Buckle up. Put your phone on silent. If someone knocks on your window, don't answer. Northern California in the late 60s was weird in a way we can't fully recreate. You've got Vietnam protests, hippies and LSD like confetti, serial killers crawling out of the woodwork Manson, ear, zebra killers, etc. Police system still thinking serial murder was something from dime store novels. So when a killer first surfaces in Vallejo in December 1968, quiet, sleepy Vallejo, no one imagines he'll become one of the most infamous criminals in American history. Two teenagers, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, are parked on Lake Herman Road, a quiet date spot, small town romance vibes. Then headlights. Then gunshot. No robbery, no sexual assault, just violence hanging in the cold night air like cigarette smoke. The killer leaves as quiet as he came. Police scratch their heads. Locals whisper. But it's just a tragedy. One of those things that happens somewhere else. Until July 4th, 1969. Imagine fireworks echoing across town. Everyone's celebrating. Meanwhile, a beige car rolls into a lover's lane again. Inside another car sit Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau. The same MO, the same brutality. But this time, someone survives. Michael, bleeding and panicked, tells police. He just came up to us, didn't say anything, started shooting. Then comes the call. 45 minutes later, the Vallejo Police Department phone rings. A calm male voice. I want to report a double murder. If you go 1 mile east, you'll find kids in a brown car. I shot them. Then the bombshell. I also killed those kids last year. The guy confesses while police are still processing the scene. And he signs his letters with something the world would never forget. A circle. A cross. Like cross. The Zodiac was born. A month later, 3 newspapers. The San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco Examiner, and Vallejo Times-Herald each get a handwritten letter. Creepy handwriting. Structured like someone who liked geometry too much and friends too little. This is the Zodiac speaking. Chills. He demands his cipher be printed, threatening more killings if it isn't. This dude literally strong-arms newspapers from his kitchen table. Think about that level of confidence or madness. The Chronicle debates. The sheriff argues. The public panics. And then the cipher goes public. Within a week, a married couple cracks most of it. Not the police, not the FBI. 2 civilians eating breakfast. Inside the cipher, no profound manifesto. No political ideology. Just a man bragging about killing people for entertainment. He calls murder the most thrilling experience. He mentions collecting slaves in the afterlife. He spells paradise like a kid who failed English twice. It's terrifying. Not because it's smart, but because it's playful. This isn't Hannibal Lecter. This is a guy who thinks he's the main character in a comic book about evil. September 1969. 3 months after Blue Rock Springs, 2 college kids, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, are having a peaceful picnic at Lake Berryessa. Out of nowhere, a man appears wearing a black executioner hood, sunglasses, and a chest panel with the Zodiac symbol. Not sneaking, not hiding, standing there like some medieval nightmare cosplay. He ties them, stabs them, draws his mark on Brian's car door, like he's signing his masterpiece. Brian survives. Cecilia doesn't. Zodiac calls police again from a payphone to report the crime. He wants credit. He wants attention. He's farming fear like it's currency. The bay becomes a pressure cooker. Parents tell kids not to go out at night. Couples stop parking in lovers' lanes. Zodiac watches the chaos like a kid watching ants after kicking over the hill. October 1969. San Francisco proper. Paul Stein, a cab driver, picks up a passenger in the city. That passenger shoots him in the head, wipes the cab, and walks away like he's running errands. This time, there are witnesses. Teenagers watch from a house window. Police arrive fast, but a dispatcher messes up and says the suspect is black. Zodiac disappears into the city night. Sirens echo. Officers drive past him without knowing. Later, Zodiac mails Paul's bloody shirt to the Chronicle. That's not a threat. That's a flex. He taunts police. This is detectives. Insults the public. He even threatens to shoot school children off a bus. Parents send kids to school holding their breath. Nothing happens, but the fear has already won. Zodiac's letters keep coming. Cryptic messages. Weird diagrams. A bomb schematic that looks like a 7th grader's science fair project from hell. He wants credit for crimes he didn't commit. Police ignore those ones. He disappears for months. Then pops back up. Then vanishes again. Zodiac becomes less of a person and more of a myth crawling through headlines. His spelling is awful. His ego enormous. His ability to disappear. Almost supernatural. And the public is hooked, terrified, obsessed, fascinated. This isn't just murder. It's performance art in blood and ink. Police chase leads. Military guys. Angry loners. Bookstore weirdos. Prison inmates. Theater freaks. Teachers who love puzzles too much. They find suspects. Dozens of them. Nothing sticks. One name rises to the surface in the public imagination. Arthur Leigh Allen. Ex-teacher. Creepy vibes. Own Zodiac-like weapons. Friends said he talked about wanting to hunt couples. Handwriting doesn't match. Fingerprints don't match. Police can't nail him. He dies in 1992. Case still open. Letters slow down. Killings stop. Maybe. The news cycle shifts. Zodiac becomes a ghost in the American crime psyche. Always there, never answered. Cold case detectives return again and again. DNA checks. Handwriting studies. Cipher nerds treating Reddit like their war room. Movies are made. Books written. Whole careers built on not solving this case. And still, no official suspect locked in. There are more gruesome killers. Smarter killers. Killers who claim more victims. But Zodiac did something worse. He pulled the world into the murder with him. He made the public part of the story. Once the letters hit the paper, everyone became a participant. Zodiac wasn't just killing people. He was killing normalcy. And he loved every second of it. Because after the killings, the phone calls, the taunts, and the cab driver's shirt arriving in a newspaper office like some macabre postcard, the Zodiac did something worse than murder. He disappeared without ever going away. He slithered out of the physical world and took root in the collective brain of America. He didn't just kill people. He infected minds. The cops. The reporters. The cryptographers. The armchair detectives. Us. Everyone who touched this case walked away changed. And some never walked away at all. The Zodiac wasn't physically brutal like some serial killers. His violence was almost symbolic. Ritualistic, ritual meets gamer energy. His primary weapons, .22 pistols, rope, ego, ink, puzzles like he thought he was the final boss in a twisted ARG. 3 ciphers would define him. Cipher 408, solved by civilians. The first cipher, solved by a substitute teacher and his wife over the breakfast table. Imagine law enforcement sweating over a coded manifesto, and Karen and Bob from Pleasanton crack it before finishing their cornflakes. It read like a psychopath auditioning for a horror comic. I like killing people because it is so much fun. No motive. No manifesto. Just sadistically, and the claim he'd have slaves in paradise. The public didn't know whether to laugh at the childish grammar or never sleep again. Cipher 340, the ghost in the puzzle. This one stayed unsolved 51 years. Half a century of cryptographers pulling their hair out, conspiracists seeing UFO coordinates, neckbeard geniuses on forums losing girlfriends, and sanity simultaneously. It wasn't cracked until 2020, long after Zodiac was a myth. And what did it say? No identity, no secret. Just more taunting. I am not afraid of the gas chamber. He couldn't even give closure properly. He was trolling from the past. A murderer with the social maturity of a Discord mod. Forget the Hollywood version. Real Zodiac suspects weren't suave masterminds. They were awkward, lonely, strange men who made everyone uncomfortable at dinner parties. Let's meet the lineup. Arthur Leigh Allen, the fan favorite. If Zodiac had merch, this guy would have worn it. Owned watches with the Zodiac symbol. Talked about hunting. Was fired from a school after creepy behavior around kids. Military background. A friend said he literally said he wanted to call himself Zodiac. It was practically cosplay. BUT. Prints didn't match. Handwriting didn't match. DNA didn't match. He died in 1992, still uncharged. The perfect suspect. Or the perfect false flag. Rick Marshall, the eccentric film guy, projectionist, loved codes, collected oddities. Basically someone who would have run a Reddit cryptography community if he lived now. Lots of vibes. No proof. Richard Gatkowski, the political wildcard, a leftist journalist who hated authority and looked like the sketch. Suspicious? Yes. Evidence? Weak. Lawrence Kane, the smooth one. Brain injury. Creepy charm. Lived near victims. Worked near cipher training. But again, nothing conclusive. Imagine being cop in the 60s with. No internet. No centralized databases. No behavioral profiling yet. No communication between departments. Punch card computer slower than your grandma's Wi-Fi. And suddenly there's a killer who taunts you publicly. Writes better PR than half the newspapers. Changes methods mid-kill. Knows police radio and procedure. Might be military. Might be a civilian. Might be a genius. Might be an egotistical idiot with a gun and a thesaurus. He was always just out of reach. Some detectives never recovered. Some quit. Some sank decades into it like it was a second marriage. Famously said, "We didn't just chase a killer. We chased a ghost with a megaphone." When Zodiac threatened to shoot kids getting off buses, everything changed. This wasn't just a killer. This was terror. Parents followed buses. Schools had armed escorts. Teachers watched windows during recess. Nothing happened, but Zodiac didn't need to shoot. He weaponized panic. He became proof that fear can kill more than guns ever will. Time passed. Killers came and went. BTK, Bundy, Dahmer, Gacy, Ramirez. But Zodiac, he aged into urban legend instead of body count. He became a ghost story, a cipher in human form. The final boss of unsolved crimes. Hollywood grabbed him. True crime junkies worshipped him. Conspiracy theorists married him spiritually. He's the Loch Ness monster of murderers. Not because he was the deadliest, but because he was never defeated. People fear unknown endings more than monsters. He is the endless cliffhanger. New tech, new hope, DNA, maybe. Genealogy tracing, promising. Digital pattern analysis, useful. But every time a lab tries to drag him into the light, he slips into shadow again. A fingerprint partial here. A degraded envelope there. Enough to tease. Never enough to claim. The cold case community lives in a perpetual state of almost, because Zodiac wasn't just a murderer. He was a culture virus. He hacked the press. He gamified crime. He pre-internet trolled the entire nation. He created fear theatrics. He shaped the modern true crime landscape without ever being caught. He was the influencer of evil before influencers even existed. Most killers kill until they're stopped. Zodiac. He killed until he was bored. Then he watched the world chase ghosts. Some theories say he moved states. He joined military operations overseas. He was jailed for another crime. He died unexpectedly. He lived quietly in suburbia and watered his lawn like everyone else. The worst theory, he kept killing, but without the costume, letters, and theatrics. No puzzles. No signatures. Just violence swallowed by America's rising tide of crime. A killer who wanted fame but returned to anonymity. A monster who learned to blend in. And maybe that's the scariest version. Not the hooded thing with the symbol on its chest, but the man behind you in line at the grocery store. The Zodiac case never gave the ending people wanted. No handcuffs, no courtroom, no final unmasking. So instead, we're left with fragments, memories, theories, voices that survived the monster. Let's hear them. Michael Mageau was just on a date. Think about that. He wasn't a detective. Not a soldier. Not a rival gangster. Just a guy on a summer night. He survived bullets to the face and neck. He crawled through his own blood. He heard Zodiac walk away like it was nothing. Years later, he said he never forgot the killer's voice. Not the words, the tone. Calm, bored, like he was ordering coffee. He gave a description. Young-ish. Stocky. Round face. Glasses. But trauma makes a kaleidoscope out of memory. Truth bends when it's wrapped in pain. Majot lived, but a part of him stayed in that parking lot forever. Brian was a law student. Analytical. Calm. He met the Zodiac not in a city alley, but in sunlight beside a lake, while picnicking with Cecilia Shepard. Zodiac tied them, spoke softly, then stabbed them over and over like he was punching holes in reality. Brian survived. Later he said, "He talked like a man who thought he was smarter than everyone." That's the cruel part of Zodiac. He wasn't smarter. He just played a smarter game. Brian became a lawyer. A life rebuilt, but trauma's a roommate that never moves out. Cecilia died from her wounds. Her last hours were spent answering questions from detectives with soft, fading voice and unimaginable strength. Her story feels different than horror, almost sacred. Because true crime forgets sometimes. These aren't characters. They were people who laughed, worried, dreamed, loved, existed. Zodiac turned their lives into puzzles. We have to put the humanity back. New DNA tech arrived. Cold case detectives sharpened their knives. Genealogy cracked Golden State Killer and eyebrows raised. Is Zodiac next? Hope flared. They tested stamps and envelopes. But decades had passed. DNA degrades. Mailroom clerks touch things. Evidence sat in dusty bags while computers evolved from rooms to chips. So the answer? Not yet. Not no. Just not yet. There's a difference. The internet did something the police never could. It turned millions of strangers into detectives. Entire subreddits dedicated to ciphers. Discord servers full of code junkies. YouTube channels combining letters frame by frame like digital shamans. Some are brilliant. Some are obsessive. Some need sunlight and water. A few moments of internet madness. A guy tried to match zodiac symbols to ancient runes and swore the killer was a time traveler. Someone claimed their neighbor's cat was sending zodiac messages. The dude got banned for posting 37 pictures of mystery handwriting and accidentally doxing his uncle. Welcome to the modern investigation. Half genius, half chaos, all caffeine. Because the case isn't really about him. It's about us. We need answers like lungs need air. We hate loose ends. We crave justice. Zodiac exploited that primal need. He created a crime where the hunt was the trap. He didn't kill the most people. He killed the feeling of safety. He killed certainty. He forced us to look in the mirror and see the thing we fear most. Evil without reason. This isn't the Netflix version. This isn't tidy. 3 possibilities live rent-free in the brains of every Zodiac researcher. 1, he died early. Heart attack. Accident. Suicide. Gone before the world caught up. 2, he went to prison for something else. Buried in a cell while detectives hunted ghosts outside. 3, he just stopped performing. No letters. No symbols. No showmanship. A killer who put away the costume and became invisible again. Worst villain arc ever? Or the scariest one? Maybe the Zodiac wasn't a criminal mastermind. Maybe he was a bored, unstable man with guns, a dictionary, and too much time. Maybe the world inflated him into a supervillain. Maybe the legend is bigger than the killer ever was. Maybe we created the thing we fear. And that's why we can't solve him, because legends don't confess. If you're waiting for a name, this story won't give you one. No Reddit user cracked it in a thread. No detective rode into the sunset with handcuffs. No gotcha plot twist is hidden in this text. Zodiac didn't lose. He wasn't caught. He wasn't unmasked. He simply aged away while the world chased his shadow. He became the ultimate villain. One who never ends. The official investigation still exists. But emotionally, the file lives in 3 places now. In the minds of survivors, in dusty evidence rooms, and online, where millions of us stare at symbols, trying to conquer the darkness on the page. Some mysteries are solved. Others are endured. This one belongs to the endurance pile. Zodiac once wrote, "Man is the most dangerous animal of all." Maybe he was bragging. Maybe he was admitting fear. Maybe he was just a frightened man trying to feel powerful. But here's the truth he never wrote. Cowardice hides behind mystery. Bravery survives without answers. Zodiac took lives. But he never took closure from the world. We just haven't earned it yet.